Greetings, my fellow YouTubers. This is a shot of whiskey and the long-awaited video that I promised, in which I explain why I say that Teen Titans Go is better than the original series, is finally here. Just to clarify, this video is by no means an attempt to get y'all to agree with me. Even if you watch this video in its entirety and yet still disagree with me, that's fine. I'm not trying to get you to flip-flop on this debate. I'm simply explaining my reasoning, the thoughts I've put into why I've said what I said. I've encountered those that have been genuinely curious, as well as those that crassly suggest that it's due to a lack of intelligence. This is for them, the inquisitive and the stubborn. Now, I'm aiming to cap this at half an hour, but I could see it going to 45 minutes. Hell, I could see me doing this video for over 3 hours if I really wanted to, because there's a lot that could be said. As for our approach, I thought I'd take a page out of the Nostalgia Critic playbook, specifically the old versus new segments. I thought it'd be fitting in this case. I've chosen 5 different categories to focus on. Animation, of course, characters, storylines, jokes, and music. I would also like to clarify that as I do these, I'm going to be looking at them as separate things, because that's what they are. Look at it this way. It's like a couple of college students. One named Linda Danvers, who is majoring in chemistry, and the other named Barbara Gordon, who is majoring in computer tech. You can't find out how many moles of carbonic acid are in 43.8 grams by knowing what type of cable to use for an IDE drive. Nerd! Nerd! Before I forget, I will ask for a little leeway while discussing the original series. I've only seen the first 3 seasons, a few episodes from season 4, and that shitastically terrible Tokyo movie. Yes, I do intend to watch the rest of the episodes at some point, though, let's be honest, I'm willing to bet that that's far more exposure than many anti-goers can say. Alright. Let's begin.
Let's begin. Let's begin.
Let's start off with the one thing that all cartoons have in common, which is animation. Back when I was first being encouraged to watch the original series, this was one of the 2 consistent reasons why I quote-unquote should watch it, because it's so good. So good! So good! Now, don't get me wrong, there's some amazing art here. A couple of my personal favorite examples are the blood cells that Beast Boy and Gizmo encounter while inside of Cyborg, which is about the only good animation in that episode. And then there's this, the hypno effects in the first Mad Mod episode. But let's be honest, guys, there's also a bunch of trash in here. This trip up between Robin and Cyborg looked comically bad, as did their argument, like right here. And here as well. And Cinderblock's escape. Then there's when Blackfire teaches Robin some martial arts, and later these guys who are laughing at Starfire. Then there's the first Aqualad episode. Beast Boy makes for a terrible squid. Did a 6-year-old draw that? What the fuck? What about the foot race to get to Terra first? Or Starfire's victory hug? Ouch! Or in another episode where Starfire gets that weird zit thing. How about the episode where this creepy robot guy wants to repair Cyborg? He actually looks pretty cool, but for now, let's focus on the other villain of the episode, Mumbo. No, he's not Canadian. Well, at least I don't think he is.
Shut your fucking face, Uncle Fucker. You're a cocksucking ass licking Uncle Fucker. You're an Uncle Fucker, yes it's true, nobody fucks uncles quite like you.
And what about this running effect? Is he related to Freakazoid or something? Well, it would explain the blue skin, I guess. And of course, I refuse to ignore Larry, that creepy mutant chibi version of Robin with the magical nostril picker. Yeah, that's some good quality animation right there. My final analysis is that the animation has its good moments, even great moments, but it sure as shit has plenty of bad moments too. And for something that's supposed to be of high quality animation, I find that the original deserves a grade of C, maybe C+. Teen Titans Go isn't trying to be a visual masterpiece. It's trying to be simple and silly. That said, there's no question that the animation quality in the first few episodes has looked terrible, even for what it is. Such as this scene, where Starfire and Raven are monkeying out with Beast Boy.
Giggity giggity, giggity goo. Stick around.
Or later when Robin is yelling at the girls. Then there's this one, where Cyborg tricked Raven into magically cloning him. Now, as time has gone by, it has cleaned up quite a bit. No, that's not the best example I could come up with. I just thought it'd be funny. Now, a key benefit for the Ghost series is the occasional use of various art styles. Here, there's a brief use of 70s British animation. Or is that 60s? Whatever. While they're chasing Mad Mod. While the original did something like this too, Go did one thing better, and that was having the characters fitting the art style. There was also this, which I'm not sure what to call it other than whimsical, which would make sense if you've seen the episode. Here's one where 80s style art was used during a fight with the Brain. They've also used old school video game art in an episode, one for each character as they parody old school games. And my final example, though not the only remaining one, nor technically a form of animation, is an episode done with marionettes. Whatever these are called. And a sock puppet. What? I like puppets, okay? A childhood dream of mine was to be a Henson puppeteer. Anyway, this show uses animation for what they wanted. To be fun. They get an A-. Well, perhaps a B+. Next is a very key element to a show. The characters. But I'm only going to focus on the 5 Titans. In the original series, there's only 3 of them that I genuinely liked. Beast Boy, Raven, and Starfire. Beast Boy may be immature, and quite frequently, but he's also a sweetheart, and at times a voice of reason. This version occasionally makes it look like he could be a future leader someday, once he matures. Raven is fucking awesome, mostly because of what her flaws are, and how they are addressed. One of the few Season 4 episodes that I've seen is the Titans vs. Trigon. It's great watching Raven struggle with her inner demons. Starfire's cheerfulness and sweet demeanor are great, and her attempts to understand human culture are somewhat believable. But what of Cyborg and Robin? Cyborg always felt out of place to me, like he didn't really belong, despite what the show wants us to think. Don't get me wrong, there are some points here and there in which he fits in, but for the most part, it feels odd. My son's mother thinks I feel this way because Cyborg really isn't a teenager, but a young adult member of the Justice League that Batman had asked to help with this new team. I don't know where she got that from, perhaps there's a comic series that says that, but let's be real. How many different versions of the Teen Titans have there been? As for Robin, I don't see a Robin when I watch this show. I see a cheap Batman knockoff. Perhaps if I had seen more of that awesome Batman the Animated Series prior to this, I'd feel like he'd be a better fit. But I actually didn't, and what I have seen, I've forgotten most of it. Besides, my first exposure to Robin, and the one that I always think of, is this one. While competent enough, he was also a, well, goober. I guess that's the best way I could describe him. To be fair, the whole show was like that. But as time evolved, the other characters made the serious transition well. I don't think he did. Case in point, this one was obnoxious, arrogant, and in need of a good ass beating. And not in the way that Schumacher wanted. I mean, come on, it's obvious what they were doing here.
Alright. No, not alright!
Point being, this is not what I'd expect from Robin. I stand by my opinion that he is more like a Batman knockoff. Overall, this show gets a solid C. All 5 of them, however, are great in the Go series. Along with upping Beast Boy's goofiness and overall idiocy, he shows potential for great intelligence, even being capable of surpassing Robin. I mean, check out this bit of wisdom.
We can't hold on to our childhood forever. Things change.
You're welcome.
He is also shown to have a talent for music.
Burritos are yummy and burgers are gross.
Well, sometimes anyways. Cyborg fits in better here, as if he truly belongs on the team. Perhaps it's due to him having a stronger friendship with Beast Boy here, but he's definitely one of them. Starfire is still sweet and alien-like, which is exploited hardcore here, and I fucking love it. The best thing about Starfire is how much the series uses her love of cute things, even to the point to where she doesn't care about what's really going on. It makes her seem more comically dumb teen girl to me, but they occasionally throw in something that makes it sound like she's making an adult reference.
I cannot even flirt my Screebies in peace! It has been ages since I said hello to my Adis.
See what I mean? Robin is more like the Robin I'd expect, and just like with everything else, is satirized to the point of ridiculously humorous. Yes, it can be overdone. Sometimes a little too much. But all in all, that's a good thing. Great? No. But it is good. Now for Raven. She still has what I like about the original animations version, but it's expanded out. Is it for the better? In some ways, I'd say yes. For example, there's her solo fight with Rose Wilson. And her turning Cyborg back into a full human.
Is this gonna hurt?
Nope, I won't feel a thing. Ha! And you guys say I'm not funny. But seriously, this will be extremely painful. Azarath Metrion's
They have done some interesting changes to her, like giving her another superhero persona, but the only change I don't really care for is her love for dancing.
What are you doing? Oh!
dancing!
That's not dancing! Oh!
As a basic idea, it's kinda bizarre, but being a comedy show, they find ways to make it fun, so I'm okay with it. Now, I know that many who don't like the show feel that way because of the first episode, where we learn that she likes Pretty Pretty Pegasus, a parody of My Little Pony.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we got it. Thanks, Applejack. This does seem out of place for her type of character, especially if you treat the original cartoon as some holy standard. But that is why I originally thought this idea was funny. It was out of place for her. Like it was making fun of her for liking to be alone or something. And yes, it's an obvious Easter egg to Tara Strong's role as Twilight Sparkle. However, we eventually learned that there's more to her fandom than that.
But these cotton candy bushes have gotten me through some dark times.
Yeah, this show helps her. Say what you will, but I think that makes perfect fucking sense. Go gets an A-. Remember how I said that animation was one of the 2 reasons why people would tell me to give the original a shot? Well, the other was storyline. Plot, narrative, the point, whatever other stupid term you want to use. To sum up what I've seen, my immediate reaction is, What storyline? I see separate stories. Some are brief and others are lengthy, and they almost never have anything to do with each other. Do you mean how seasons 1 and 2 could be summed up as teens versus creepy old guy in dorky clothes because he likes them young, maybe? I never really got what Slade's fascination was with the Titans, in particular with Robin. First, he toyed with the group because he supposedly wanted an apprentice, even though he has a badass daughter. Then he wanted to destroy them and their city by having a female apprentice who can throw rocks, do his dirty work. Even though he has a badass daughter. I get that this is a cartoon based from a comic book series, but come on. If you're going to try to make this thing good, then do better. The Brother Blood arc in Season 3 was okay. Truth be told, it may have been better if they swapped 3 with 2, or maybe merged them. Okay, perhaps a merging would be worse, ignore that idea. A season beforehand could have helped too. One that would have given a reason for Slade's peculiar interest over kids in spandex. Then there's the filler episodes. You know, the ones that have no relevance to the precious plot whatsoever. Don't get me wrong, some of them are stellar when it comes to being enjoyable. Like when Mumbo turns the gang into animals, or Starfire being shot into a friendless future. Sometimes fillers can be a good thing, even in shows like Naruto and Bleach. Just try to avoid saying that around the rabid fans. Even though some of these fillers horrendously suck, like this weird boys-only contest thing, or the much-despised Larry episode, many of them could improve by either having each key storyline explained, making these irrelevant gaps more interestingly relevant, or find ways to tie them into the main story of the season. Or a little bit of both. Bottom line, they're good, but not as legendary as some fans make them out to be. This actually gets an A-. Now, Go doesn't exactly have this type of a defining parameter. It typically goes from one episode to the next, having very little to do with what came before. This is both a good and a bad. Regarding the bad, this makes it to where a lack of consistencies can be somewhat annoying. The first one that comes to my mind involves Cyborg's father. The first time he's mentioned is when Cyborg is trying to relate to Raven's daddy issues by having his father being a toaster. About a full season later, he exaggerates the story yet again, but it's more accurate this time, including how his daddy played a role in him becoming a cyborg, which he does so in order to help cheer up a damaged Beast Boy. As for the good, this makes coming up with basic jokes, as well as an entire story idea, better. After all, this is a comedy, one that frequently relies on parody and satire. I'll cover more on this in the next category, but basically, the storyline, plot, whatever argument for Go is sort of an imbecilic one. Why? Because not only are they not trying to tell a 4-month-long story, but many other cartoons use a similar single episodic story formula, such as The Simpsons, The Amazing World of Gumball, Family Guy, The Loud House, Rick and Morty, and South Park. Each one of these tends to keep each episode as its own story, and rarely spends an entire season telling one story that is occasionally interrupted by irrelevant episodes here and there, though some concepts or ideas will carry on. The Go series is no different. The first ever two-parter, for instance, begins with their AC unit dying again. It ends with the Titans saving the Justice League from Darkseid, by the way. Santa Claus, and a few other holiday-based characters, make repeat appearances, oftentimes because of Santa. There's also the Cyborg Jinx romantic relationship. It carried on in several episodes, including one where they pretended to be married on Valentine's Day. Poor Gizmo. I don't see why some ridiculous season-long plot is necessary for a show of this nature. It gets an A-. I've tried to do what I could to avoid bringing up jokes until now, but that's quite difficult when talking about two cartoons that both have this element. One has its blood. That said, the original series doesn't have anywhere near as many jokes in it as Go, and that's for multiple reasons. The obvious one being that it's a more serious approach to the overall franchise. After all, isn't the plot why many of y'all claim the original is better than Go? That said, when the show wants to be funny, it can be. I was laughing my ass off when I first saw Cyborg and Beast Boy in Raven's Mirror Head World Place. And Blackfire telling her sister of the arranged marriage was great too. Beast Boy eating Robin's meat-only breakfast was golden. And Aqualad being a bitchy little pansy over fish tacos was just beautiful. But most of the jokes are just okay. Like Starfire loving mustard. Or the cultural differences involving fake bacon used as comedy props. Or Mammoth eating the Titan's expired food. There's some god-awful attempts at humor too. Larry, in every way imaginable, was a painfully terrible abomination. His appearance? Not funny. His fondness for Starfire? Not funny. His reaction to being renamed Larry? Not funny. Okay, that brief classic flashback was kind of amusing, but the rest is so fucking abysmal. And I'm not surprised that every one of my friends who loves this series forgot this episode exists. I tried to do what I could to forget this one if this show were part of my childhood, or whatever ridiculous point you want to pretend is relevant. In any case, making humor a major part of this series is about as silly as a single storyline for Go. Yet for what it has, I'd give it a B+, maybe an A-, if I'm in a good mood. And maybe if my student were to offer up an apple. Or a head.
Dear Diary, jackpot!
Go uses many approaches to its comedic characteristic, much of which includes references, Easter eggs, and parodies. Some are an entire episode, like when they reintroduced Raven's personalities, or when this idea returned with the same thing happening to all of the Titans, plus Silky, or when Control Freak sent the Titans to that My Little Pony parody world. Not only was it a parody of the franchise, more so of the previous versions, but we see Raven acting like how a lot of bronies would most likely act in that situation. Other examples are brief. One such example is in an episode in which Beast Boy is trying to convince the rest to eat healthier, when Raven says this.
Why should I eat like a rabbit? I'm not a rabbit.
And in case you haven't made the connection, that was in reference to this. There's a lot more evidence that I could cover regarding the comical aspects of this show, such as Silky traveling to Mexico, Trigon being portrayed as a stereotypical 90s sitcom father.
Now, who's the best daddy in the world?
You are. Ugh.
Batman and Commissioner Gordon hanging out in the Batcave. Billy Numerous playing with himself.
I'll take Billy. I'll take Billy. Man, why am I always picked last?
Beast Boy's audition for the Justice League.
Milk on your face!
Looks more like a Brazzers audition, am I right? Being hunted by a predator. going on the Oregon Trail, using their real names from time to time, why Robin wears a mask, and the real reason why, the Bizarro Titans, a Batman Gordon slumber party with a couple more guests, Robin teaching us all a unique lesson, the Titans becoming professional wrestlers.
Please, stop screaming.
The screams will stop when the grave mistake puts you 6 feet under.
It's too early for this.
Nuclear Man, this swear to read poster in the Titans library, the Academy Awards and their touching tribute to past DC shows, spending time at a carnival. Ugh, nasty. And many, many more. Let's end this, though. A+. No, wait, sorry. I've got to be honest about the bad jokes, too. They do exist. A-. I think it's safe to say that we all have heard the Teen Titans theme song. It's a fun song, but it's not perfect. Now, before you start crying on your keyboards, let me explain my minor reasons. Listen to this verse. Except Robin doesn't have any superpowers. Except Cyborg has a crush on Jinx. That's about it as far as lyrics. And like I said, minor reasons. Now the gals who sing this song, Puffy and Yumi, really aren't that great of singers. And them being Japanese and singing in English makes things tough for me, at least, to understand it the first few times around. Many of the episodes will have the intro done in Japanese instead. This is also one of those pro and con sort of things. Now, I'd be lying if I said that this completely bothered me. I quite enjoy hearing Japanese lyrics. Handing the music is somewhere between tolerable and awesome.
I like where this is going. Giggity, giggity, giggity.
But in this case, it helps add to the deception that Teen Titans is an anime. Now, I wasn't sure how to mention this in the animation section, but the original implemented some stereotypical anime art styles here and there. DC knew that anime was exploding in popularity at the time, and that some of you are stupid enough to think that shit like this and Teen Titans are anime because of this stuff. If you applied this logic to all Western cartoons, then this should count as an anime. Okay, let's get back on topic here. There's also a third version of this song that is used, but only once. Larry's version. I can't even say what I was planning on saying next. Oh god, that version is so funny. It sounds like hearing a drunk at a karaoke bar.
Derp 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 diddy derp 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 diddy derp 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 diddy derp derp derp.
Okay, now that I got that last minute change out of the way, aside from these three versions of the same song, there's an overall lack of musical variety in this series. I mean, there's the ending theme and background music. The ending theme is very simple and bland. While the background music is usually somewhere between decent and spot on.
T-Rex takedown!
There is one exception that I can think of, which is when Starfire and Blackfire have their first fight. Why is it so cheerfully kiddish? It sounds like they're trying to bake a cake or something. All in all, I'd give it a solid A.
Oh, darn, that's awesome! That's really awesome!
The opening theme for Go is kind of annoying. Take a listen. It sounds kind of like a rave remix of the original series Closer or something. Now, it's fun enough for my son and I to sing it together, but the same is true of the original's opener. There's also a bunch of short little numbers, like that burrito one I mentioned earlier, and many of them are about as bad. I'm sure there's one that's worse, but right now, the greatest offender that I can recall is when Starfire sings about peace and love.
Everybody have the high fives and cakes. Peace and love, peace and love. I want the cheese for breakfast.
Thankfully, there's some pretty good songs too, such as Cyborg losing his little buddy.
All I know is pain. Yeah, pain. All I know is pain.
Beast Boy winning over Terra.
By your side is where I'll be. Endless love won't fail, you'll see.
Oddly enough, Starfire's love song to that goldfish she won.
I like the radio blasting, feeling fantastic. I'd dance all night if I could.
Cyborg's audition for the Justice League.
I believe in somewhere, someone like all dreamers do.
And my favorite example by far,
The night begins to shine.
this song was first introduced as a little bit of a filler, giving Cyborg something to dance to while getting ready for bed. The song later had its own episode about how, well, I'll let Cyborg explain it.
Music is supposed to be a crutch.
This song is why that 80s animation I mentioned earlier was used. Somewhat recently, there was a 4-parter surrounding that song being used to fight for an entire world. Long story short, the Titans team up with the band that wrote the song, as well as Fall Out Boy and CeeLo Green to overthrow the Dragon Lord. No, not that dragon. This dragon. The band of BER played a couple more songs during this stretch of time. Forever was what they used to transport back to the other world. And Rise Up had summoned this pink robot lady thing that was part of the prophecy.
The prophecy. you're calling upon.
What's really awesome is that Fall Out Boy and CeeLo did their own versions of The Night Begins to Shine as well. Now, I'm not a big fan of Fall Out Boy's version. But then again, I'm not a fan of them in general. CeeLo's version is actually kind of good. And in all honesty, I'm not really a fan of CeeLo Green either. Now, I'll end this with one final point. Listen to what's playing at the end of the story arc. Recognize them? That's Puffy Ami Yumi. Overall, there's some awesome shit here, but also some trash. And as such, Go gets a B-. Hey, look at that! The original finally beat Go. Okay, let's look at the overall scores. Miss Danvers got a C+ for animation, a C for characters, an A- in storyline, a B+ in jokes. Yeah, I don't think she'd seek a better grade via sucking dick. Well, maybe that one. And an A in music. That would give her a GPA of 3.064. Miss Gordon, on the other hand, got a B+ in animation, an A- in characters, an A- in storyline, another A- in jokes, and a B- in music, giving her a GPA of 3.394. That's only a 0.33 difference, but Go wins this contest. Holy Topeka, Kansas. How long is this thing? Holy shit. About 38 minutes. Damn! Well, if you made it this far, thank you. And I hope this helps to explain my reasoning. If you look at two things at a face value, you're not always going to get a clear picture. You might as well as compare a horror film to a musical while using westerns as your compass. If you want to laugh at a variety of jokes, go with Go. If you want something more serious, go with the original, though you may want to lean more towards Batman the Animated Series.
Freak out.